Episode 8 of MobLand, which is rapidly approaching the dramatic end of its first season, contains a twist that fundamentally alters the course of the intensifying Harrigan/Stevenson conflict. The Harrigans temporarily reassemble when Harry uses the enigmatic Cat Mallister to save Serafina Harrigan at the last minute. Conrad, however, makes an instant effort to turn Brendan's murder into a financial opportunity. Jamie Lopez's treachery of Richie makes it possible for Jamie and Conrad to gain control of fentanyl in London. But Harry loses another favor to Cat as a result. In the meantime, a seasoned participant in London's never-ending gangland conflict, former Scotland Yard Deputy Chief Inspector Colin Tattersall, portrayed by the great Toby Jones, gave Richie his own chance. Based on his decades of experience, Tattersall advises DS Fisk and DC Macasa pursuing Conrad Harrigan that forming an alliance with their adversary is the key to dismantling a criminal organization. This leads to a confrontation with Richie Stevenson, which culminates in one of MobLand's most unexpected turns to yet. Given the circumstances, they might be disastrous for the Harrigans. Harry is informed by Conrad that a man thinks twice before picking up the phone to Cat Mallister. It's obvious that Cat Mallister is some kind of extremely high-ranking official, either of a larger criminal enterprise or possibly a shadow agency like the CIA, based on the context provided by everyone who mentions her name and the fact that even an international cartel follows her instructions without question. It is almost a given that a favor owed to someone with that much unrestricted authority will be returned, albeit for a risky and unlawful purpose. Once more, it's obvious that Cat has an interest in the international trafficking of firearms, drugs, and other illegal stuff, regardless of her true role. She accepts Conrad's offer of 50% of the fentanyl money he plans to transfer in exchange for facilitating his rendezvous with Jamie. She probably leans more toward the criminal underworld than the CIA given her willingness to accept money from such a source, but no one would be surprised by a dishonest public servant. She had already asked Harry to work for her, demonstrating her knowledge of his abilities and her obvious intention to use him for anything to advance her own business. Harry might be recruited as a black operative to work for her, or he might be asked to infiltrate another criminal organization. Kevin thinks a favor to Cat would be bad for the Harrigans since he might even be asked to give up the Harrigans if that is what Cat wants. In MobLand, Cat's favors will undoubtedly be revealed soon. Following the killings of Fisk and Macasa, Colin Tattersall makes it apparent that he is aware of his part in a scheme with Richie. Although he says he had already imprisoned Richie twice, it appears that Tattersall may have been more amiable to Richie than a legitimate police inspector ought to be to a deadly crime lord. He and Richie go all the way back to 75. Conrad's main opponent now has the support and resources of the London police, as well as the freedom to act, as Tattersall is supposedly taking charge of the investigation and dealing with Richie. Fisk readily agrees, primarily to avoid appearing weak, when a defiant Macasa shouts out that Richie will never own them after rightfully questioning the two agents who own what in their planned pooling of resources. They are shot and killed by Richie, who makes sure they hear the final words, no one owns Richie Stevenson. The true motive for their murder is deeper, even while their arrogant suggestion that Richie would be owned by the police, basically turning him into a grass, didn't assist their own cause. In just a few minutes, Fisk and Macasa demonstrated that they were straight and that they would not be suitable joint venture partners. Instead, they would be Richie's worst enemy, they would have control over his actions, and even if he were granted immunity from prosecution, Fisk and Macasa probably wouldn't tolerate his killing people the way he plans to. Richie was certain that they would fail, but Deputy Chief Inspector Tattersall, who was more seasoned and consequently more accommodating, knew how to play ball. Richie's right hand, Freddy, has been under Harry's control ever since he got pictures of Ron cheating on Richie with Freddy. In MobLand Episode 8, he had his last meeting with Harry. In order to get Freddy to join Harry and Kevin, Harry pretends that he and Kevin plan to take over the Harrigan crime empire and will kill Richie in the process. As a result, Freddy gains Harry's trust and promptly provides him with the details of Richie's fentanyl operation, which Conrad can employ with Jamie. But off-screen, Freddy also tells Harry who the Harrigans member who had been working closely with Richie was. Harry kills Freddy by throwing him off the top of the building after learning this knowledge. He caught the express elevator to the lower floor because Freddy had fulfilled his role and was now just a loose end to tie off. It's quite safe to assume that Maeve has been working with Richie the entire time. Her call to Richie regarding Brendan and Serafina's whereabouts in Antwerp may seem like the height of foolishness, but it wouldn't have been if she had been cooperating with him up until that point and genuinely thought he would spare Brendan. That would also explain why, at the end of episode 7, Richie chose not to inform Conrad about Maeve's call. Richie would gain by keeping her as a mole in the Harrigan home as he attempts to destroy Conrad if she had assisted him up until that time. Plausible popular theory regarding Cat's identity is that she is a powerful individual in a multinational organization, notably the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, of the United States. That theory is supported by her American accent, but more significantly, it is supported by her relationship with Jamie Lopez. The CIA has long been suspected of working with the cartels, limiting and/or directing the flow of drugs into America to suit their own interests, despite their inability to halt it. It is obvious that Jamie and Cat have been together for a long time because they use each other's first names. Cat's ostensibly extravagant lifestyle would be explained if she were a dishonest CIA agent who was taking advantage of the cartels. The fact that Jamie completely trashes his entire relationship with a rival gang in Richie Stevenson for her further speaks to her having something to do with how his business functions. The cartels don't take favors lightly, but if Cat's music keeps the drug trade going globally, then it would definitely explain why he leaps at the sound of her voice. The simmering conflicts between the Harrigan and Stevenson crime groups, which both traffic in weapons and drugs in London, have dominated MobLand's 8 episodes. The stakes were raised for everyone when 2 murders turned the corporate competition into a full-scale conflict. Nonetheless, episode 7 was a crucial reminder of how much more widespread organized crime is worldwide. The show's scope is likely to expand significantly if MobLand Season 2 is produced, and Cat Mallister may hold the key to that global future. Thanks for watching. For more updates stay tuned and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, please.